what we've been doing is bullshit, basically. A peer review paper landed last month, co-authored by Karl Friston, one of the most cited neuroscientists alive. The title is "The Body Does Not Keep the Score." We should probably talk about that. In 2014, Bessel van der Kolk published The Body Keeps the Score. It became one of the best-selling psychology books ever written. It has a 5-star rating on Amazon from people who found at least the first few chapters very validating. The central idea was simple. Trauma gets stored in your body, and healing means releasing it. That idea is emotionally resonant. It is also, according to a paper published on the 30th of April 2026, biologically incorrect. The authors are Stephen Kotler, Michael Menino, Glenn Fox and Karl Friston at University College London. And let me tell you, when Karl Friston tells you that your central metaphor is wrong, that is not an opinion, that's neuroscience. So, the score that the body supposedly keeps, where is it exactly? Hips? My back? Maybe shoulder that's been a bit tight since 2009. Your brain is not a recording device that files experience away somewhere in your body. What your brain does constantly is predict. It guesses what's about to happen and checks whether that matches reality and updates accordingly. After a traumatic event, your brain gets stuck predicting danger. It treats threat as the most likely explanation for everything. Your heart races, your chest tightens, your brain sees these physical sensations and thinks this proves danger is real. That loop is not a memory trapped in your body. It's your brain caught in a prediction it won't let go of. Imagine your beliefs as terrain. The healthy brain moves across it freely, exploring different paths. Trauma traps your brain in one deep ravine. The sides are so steep your brain is convinced it belongs there and can't climb out of it. Your brain gets stuck not because something is stored, because it can't imagine anything else being true. And what van der Kolk's critics often miss is that he knew this. He wasn't ignorant of neuroscience. The problem isn't the science in the book, the problem is the metaphor and what the metaphor invited. Okay. That is somatic release. The shaking, crying, moaning, dramatic breathing, full body writhing. I mean, what was being released there? A demon? Now, that reaction is real. The body is genuinely responding. Crying is real chemistry. It releases natural painkillers and it slows the heart and drops cortisol. But that's the chemistry of crying, not the chemistry of stored trauma leaving your pelvis. The movements is muscular contractions releasing endorphins. You've just done a workout, essentially, a charismatic one, but a workout. And then there's expectation. A client is told their body is holding something and their brain finally gets permission to stand down from high alert. Placebo works in a percentage of these cases. That percentage gets posted as successful release. The rest gets forgotten. If we use scientific methods to target how your brain actually generates experience, it's going to move the needle more often and much more reliably than any of these strange rituals will. Nobody is going to make that much noise in front of witnesses, sit up, fix their leggings, and say, that did absolutely nothing. Once you've committed publicly, your brain is going to find meaning for that. The feeling is real. The explanation for it is what needs examining. So if the science says trauma isn't stored in the body, then somatic release work isn't working. Breath work marketed as trauma release isn't working. Regression to cause isn't working. So are sound bath facilitators suddenly going to use their bowls for salad instead of sound? No. Are breathwork facilitators going to roll up their mats and pivot to something else entirely? No. Are regression to cause therapists suddenly going to stop going back to trauma and start moving forward to the future? Probably not. Because these are big businesses, retreat centres, certification programmes, multi-million-pound training empires built on a model that Friston just said is biologically incorrect. Now, if nurses got new evidence that babies need to sleep on their backs instead of their sides, they'd retrain immediately. No resistance whatsoever. But in wellness, updating is going to be admitting their entire business was built on false science. So you don't update. Van der Kolk is already working on his next book, and it will sell. Most practitioners will never even see this paper. And the ones that do will find 17 reasons it doesn't apply to what they do. Follow the money and you understand why the science won't shift the industry. This is confirmation bias at an industrial scale. The resistance to this research is itself a case study in the research. Thankfully for me, my delete method is not affected. So the old way of looking at things was if the trauma is stored, the treatment looks like archaeology. You excavate, you retrieve, and you release. However, if your trauma is a prediction your brain is running right now, the treatment looks entirely different. You retrain, you recalibrate, you rebuild the brain's capacity to imagine something other than the danger. When I work with clients, whether it's executives dealing with performance anxieties or individuals working through patterns that have shaped their decisions for years, the work is the same. We get clarity on what's actually wanted, a map of the gap between where the brain is predicting and where the client wants to be. Then, using hypnosis, installing the updated prediction as an automatic response rather than a deliberate effort. So all of this explains why the delete method gets a 98% success rate. Because it doesn't just rely on placebo, it uses the science. It targets the prediction using methods that actually move the needle. That's what it was designed around. Why did the storage metaphor become so dominant? Because Millions of people read van der Kolk's book and felt for the first time that someone had accurately described what living in their own body felt like. But here's what they didn't realise. They're not retrieving stored trauma. They're recreating it in the moment through their own prediction. They feel something happening in their body. Something is happening. They just don't realise they're generating it themselves. And even when these papers land, most people won't know about them. They'll continue to believe what they believed before. Van der Kolk's work said something genuinely important. The body matters. Talking alone isn't always enough. That was worth saying. But the mechanism got it wrong. We want suffering to have a container we can open and empty. So when someone hands us a model in language that matches how we actually feel, we receive it as fact before we've examined it as theory. The felt experience is real. The interpretation of it is where the inaccuracy creeps in. The body isn't keeping score. The brain is running a prediction that danger is ongoing. It's kind of the same presentation, but a completely different implications for what you actually do about it. The brain generates this moment to moment based on predictions built from prior experience, weighted by how dangerous it's learned the world to be. A stored archive is hard to edit. A live prediction can be recalibrated. The brain that learned to predict danger can learn to predict something else. Not through retrieval or regression, through retraining. Most people who experience trauma don't develop PTSD. Large studies show that roughly 65% recover naturally on their own. We need a more precise understanding of the prediction the brain is generating and how to shift it. And that, as it turns out, is very achievable. If you want to learn more about the delete method, there's a link in the comments. Have you seen that new paper? We're going to have to cancel the retreats. What are we going to do? Well, what we've been doing is bullshit, basically. Yeah, you're right. We can't retrain. God, no. We can't refund either. That's hundreds of thousands of pounds. They're all seeing Kumbaya and shaking it off and crying. That's going to make them feel better. Yeah, carry on. It'll be fine. Nobody will read it anyway.